Hello, I'm Dan Mendelo. And since filming this, over the last 12 years, I've helped thousands of people, hundreds of whom were six-figure and plus, all the way up to 10-figure business owners and coaches and teachers and mentors. And I've helped them achieve results such as, here's some of the big ones, right? In business, 8.5xing their income in 4 months, going from under $1 million in sales to under $3 million in sales in 4 weeks, and creating so much business they actually had to get a team of 4 people just to handle the paperwork. These are all different people. Within the area of love, helping people go from the brink of divorce to reinstating their vows, literally manifesting their perfect person, as in what they wrote down on a piece of paper, and then getting married. Fixing relationship issues, feeling more loved, having more love for themselves, feeling more confident, powerful, in love with themselves, self-honoring, self-trusting, fulfilled, energized than ever before. So I break these results down, the major results that my clients get with me, into 3 main areas: wealth, love, and ease, flow in life. And we do this by aligning, living in alignment. In essence, most of the time what I find is that when people are seeing this, life is hard, or things are just not working or coming as fast as they want, it's because it's almost like they're hitting the gas and the brakes at the same time. That's why there's such a grind, right? It's why people lose motivation. It's why they run out of gas. Think about all these terms that people say, right? They're burned out. Well, that's what happens when you hit the gas and the brakes at the same time. And that's because people are doing things that might have worked for other people, but not really for them. Mine probably didn't even work for them. Fitting into models of identity that other people want for them. So they're not really listening to themselves, they're not being themselves, they're not, working within their true strengths. They're limiting themselves, playing small, or seeing themselves in negative or limiting ways, on and on, just living out of alignment, right? It's like trying to drive the street, but not only gas and brakes, but your wheels are wobbling and everything is shaking. You don't even know if you're going in the right direction. When we get you into alignment, things flow. That's when you can listen to yourself, take your own advice, and move forward, and have everything feel incredible. That's when people will come out of the woodwork to support you or to convince you to take them on as clients. That's when perfect partners show up, or relationship issues from the past just melt away. That's when you start getting the love and honoring you deserve without having to be a people pleaser or a perfectionist. And things just flow. And we get there with 2 main ways. I use both science and spirituality. And by the way, the line between them is very, very thin. And so when we talk about both science and spirituality, this is kind of what I think. First of all, I love looking at a quote by Arthur C. Clarke that any technology sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic. When we apply this to science and spirituality, any science sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from spirituality. Remember that if you said that the earth was not the center of the universe, you were considered a heretic just not that long ago. If you said the world was round, you'd be a heretic and excommunicated. A lot of the modern medicine used to be considered witchcraft or simply impossible. Things like thought. When we look at this, we used to think that thought used to be contained within the human head. We used to think that it was just like a thing that just happens in you, that has no actual relationship with the physics around you, but that's not true. An EEG is an electroencephalograph. Put it on your skull and you can read the electrical stimulation inside of your brain. But an MEG does the same sort of thing, but it's a magnetoencephalograph, so it measures electromagnetism. You can put an MEG sensor from across a room and think at it, and it'll pick it up. There was a thing called the Pear Institute. By the way, double and triple check everything that I'm saying. Don't take my word for it. Look at the Pear Institute in Princeton. Unfortunately, it was shut down because it ran out of funding. But what they had done was create elaborate random number generators and then tested the power of human thought to guide the outcomes. So you can sit there at a random number generator and think 777777777, and 7 would come up more significantly over many, many trials, right? Or dropping water over a bunch of randomly placed rocks and having a bunch of numbered buckets in the bottom, and you can go 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and it'll land more in 3 than the others, of course, over many, many trials. And what they did find is that when you put a miserable person in the room, it didn't work so well. You put a joyful person in the room, the effect was massively more significant. You put 2 people in the room who were in love with each other, and the effect is even higher. A family in love with each other, effect is even higher. Bring the whole thing into a theater which regularly houses powerful, positive human emotion, and the effect was way off the chart. This is studied by Princeton University. This isn't some, random dude with a tinfoil hat out in the middle of the desert saying this. This is one of the best universities in the world. And we also know that the placebo effect exists. When you look at, for example, visualization, when people say, oh, no. When you daydream, when you visualize, it just happens in your mind. It has no bearing on the real world. Sure, except for the fact that if you look at any studies by Ellen Langer, you're going to find out that that's just not the case. For example, in 1979, Ellen Langer did an intricate study on individuals who, elderly, who before and after did intelligence tests and measured all sorts of biomarkers of aging. Then she had them live in a home, a building, which was entirely decorated as exactly 20 years ago. Now, of course, they're elderly, so they were, in their 30s or 40s at the time, and in 1959. But they were instructed to only wear the clothes that they were given in 1959 style. The newspapers, magazines, and music were all exactly from 1959, and those dates. Everything was decorated in 1959, and they lived there for some amount of time, and afterwards they came out, and 63% of them showed improvements in intelligence. And when shown pictures, most people said that they got younger. They looked 2 years younger. And the biomarkers such as finger length, because your fingers continue to grow, as well as your ears, reversed. They literally reversed aging because they thought 20 years younger for enough time that their bodies got the hint. There are many studies on, for example, free throws, on billiards, right, shooting pool, even swimming. And they found that when you have 3 groups of people, one that doesn't practice, one that actually practices, right, they're actually at the pool table, they have a ball in their hands, they're actually swimming. And then a third group just sitting and visualizing in the appropriate way they were taught, right? Obviously, the control group, no improvement. The people who actually practiced, the most improvement. But right behind them were the people who visualized. And that's what lets us really, truly scientifically study the statement that Einstein made a while back, which is the mind cannot tell the difference between that which is actually experienced and actively imagined. What does it mean? It means that the lines between spirituality and science are blurring. For example, look at meditation and yoga, given to us by ancient Vedic cultures out in India, spiritual cultures, Vedic sciences. They called it science, not spirituality, because it was a way to live. We still use Ayurvedic medicine, that's a medicine of food, meditation and yoga, these today, right? And it's helped thousands of millions, maybe, of people for thousands of years, maybe more than millions, right? So we can see here that we cannot poo-poo spirituality just because there are a bunch of woo-woo memologists out there who like to make things sound crazy. We also cannot take every single thing that science, especially Western science, says as fact. Science can only suggest things, and we know that because every couple of years it seems like what we think is science gets a total overhaul, right? Having the world, the earth, as flat at the center of the universe used to be called science. Now we know that's tinfoil hat nuttery, right? So what I use in terms of science and spirituality are hand in hand. I use, for example, the science and spirituality of deep visualization. And you use it too, you just don't realize it. You ever gotten into a fight with someone in your mind, right? And you're thinking about what they're going to say. And you're gonna say, they're gonna say this, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say this, and before you know, you're mad, maybe you're driving home and you're white knuckling, and you get in and you see that person. What do you have to do? You have to actively prevent yourself from getting in the fight that never happened. Because you imagined it in such a way that you thought it was real. We know you thought it was real, at least your brain thought it was real, because it gave you an emotional response to it. And then tried to create it when you saw the person there. So we do this all the time. The only thing is that with me and my clients, I use it for massive healing. This is one of the primary foundations of hypnosis, by the way, which is one, I use 3 or 4 different kinds of hypnosis and trance work. And it's also the basis for neurolinguistic programming, which is you can change the way that you behave, and you can erase things like limiting beliefs by verbally commanding the mind to create symbols in the unconscious that change the way you think. So for example, when you look in neuroscience, I created the term functional brain wiring. Functional brain wiring is the collection of neurosynaptic connections inside of your brain that produce thought and behavior. So when you're looking at a belief, what you actually see is a cluster of neurons that interact with each other in a reliable and predictable pattern. And it's like a circuit. So if you think about a coffee maker, your coffee maker knows how to make coffee. It'll either do 2 things. It'll either try to make coffee or something, or it just won't work. Doesn't matter how many times you put lemons in there, it's not gonna make you lemonade. Sorry. It'll make you a disgusting lemon coffee. No, I haven't tried it. So what happens here is your thought, your functional brain wiring is going to change the way that you interpret the world and you behave. For example, if you don't think you're good enough to make 100 grand, or let's say most of my clients have already made 100 grand. If you don't think you're good enough to make 200 grand in your business, right? You believe that you're not good enough to do it. You're not smart enough, let's say. Then when opportunities come your way to make 200 grand, but they might be a little risky, you're going to turn them down and it'll sound very logical and reasonable to you, right? But you're going to say, nah, it's not a wise move. Your brain won't let you do it. Why? Because you know somewhere deep inside your unconscious, which is 94 to 96% of all of you, by the way, your conscious mind, the one that you hear, it's like a backseat driver. It can get really, really loud, but it doesn't have its hands on the wheels. It makes up about 4 to 6% of all of you, okay? That's why you try to consciously change how you behave. It doesn't work because your behavior comes from your unconscious, yeah? So your unconscious holds this belief that you're not smart enough to make 200 grand. So when the opportunity comes, you're going to turn it down. You're going to say it's a bad opportunity and not for you. Or you're going to try to take it, but you won't put your 100% into it, and you won't consider certain ideas or certain options or certain availabilities, certain opportunities within that, and so you will mess it up, right? So you either turn it down, which means you're not good enough to make 200 grand, so you turn it down. Or you'll make mistakes because you won't believe in yourself enough in order to make the appropriate moves and take the appropriate risks in order to make it work. In either case, you're gonna look at the event, you're gonna look at the result, not making 200 grand. Your brain goes, see? We look at the result, didn't make 200 grand. See, told you, it reinforces the belief. I'm not good enough to make 200 grand. Another example of this, girls, and especially in America, have this belief that they're not as good at math as boys. So what happens? They don't do all their homework because there's no point. They don't study for tests because there's no point. They get really nervous and anxious during tests because no one likes failing, and they get bad grades. Then they see, I'm not as good at math as boys. Reinforces the belief. But also, even if they got a good grade, they would explain it away because, hey, it conflicts with a belief that they have in their mind. So they'd say, no, well, it was an easy test, or that was a mistake. I won't be able to do it again, or they graded on a curve, or whatever. They'll explain it away. That way they get to believe the same belief anyway. Even if you made the 200 grand with the old belief, I'm not smart enough to make 200 grand, you do the same exact thing, right? You say, I made it now, but I won't do it again. I made it, but I'm gonna lose it. Maybe something went wrong. I got a lucky break, whatever. So what we do is we use all sorts of techniques, including powerful visualization techniques, in order to change those beliefs. Because if you can have a negative self-fulfilling prophecy created by a belief, you can make it positive. What would happen if you absolutely knew that you were good enough to make 200K? or that you were really, really good at math. Well, then if you got a bad grade or you missed your 200K, you'd look at it and you say, that's fine. I'm going to make it next time. I'm going to learn from that. That happened for a reason or to help me get there, right? Or, that was a fluke. I'm going to hit it next time. This is how we change the functional brain wiring inside of your mind. We do the same thing in order to prevent the same cycle happening over and over and over again. We have the same thing happening in our lives over and over and over again. Same shit, different day. This is because we have unprocessed negative emotions inside of our bodies. So I use both spiritual and scientific techniques in order to process the negative emotions. Almost like when you go to a deep tissue massage, right? You release the toxins from your muscles, but every single muscle, every single organ in your body creates neurotransmitters. That's the molecule of thought. The only thing is that your brain is the only organ that creates molecules of thought we can hear as our conscious minds, but the rest of our bodies create neurotransmitters. What does that mean? It means that we can work through the body and communicate through the body once you learn how to do that, and you can release the built-up toxins, just like a truly deep spiritual, deep tissue massage. And you can let that ish go. And that way, instead of harboring the toxins in your body, making you repeat cycles, you can let it go and break free and do other things. Yeah? This is also how we erase fears, how we erase traumas, limiting beliefs, negative perceptions. When we use spiritual beliefs and visualizations of a certain different kind, we can also manifest wealth. Now, whether you believe manifestation is a spiritual, poof, money comes out of nowhere, which is not, it's not like that. Or you believe that manifestation is a product of hard work, it doesn't matter. Because when you rewire your mind and deepen your conviction in yourself and your belief in yourself, setting off new self-fulfilling prophecies, combining science and spiritual practices, you make it inevitable that you will succeed. Right? Think about the people who succeed most in life. Do they ever doubt themselves? Maybe sometimes, right? Maybe well, it's not even doubting. They do self-inquiry. They check and see what happened wrong. Maybe they're not overly confident, but they're confident enough, they're more confident than other people, that they're willing to do the things that other people are too scared of, and that's why they get the rewards other people will never get. Through rewiring your mind, through rewiring your functional brain wiring, through adaptation of your beliefs, your belief structures of yourself, of life, and of how the universe works. Right? That's, if you've ever read You're the Placebo, yeah? Like, a lot of your beliefs are just placebo effects running in circles. Well, when we change that, you command the placebo effect, you take control of your life and your body, of the way that things go. This, believe it or not, is just a very top level explanation of the science and spirituality that I use with my clients that have helped them get such results. Right? Losing 25 pounds without dieting or working out. Shaving 18 hours of work every single week. So saving 18 hours every single week. That's 3 hours, 6 days a week, every single week without losing a dime in profit. I've had people get more fit than ever just with this as a side thing, right? I've had people nail acting jobs. I've worked with famous directors who have suddenly taken control of their projects, and then after we worked, in the news, right? Even more and even more and even more. I've worked with some of my heroes. It's really, really fun. And helped them cultivate more peace, more flow, more ease, greater health, greater belief in themselves with this. It worked for them. It'll probably work for you. I've used it to clear my depression, erase my 31 years of suicidal depression. I've used it to generate a multi-six-figure business in a year and a half. I've used it to cultivate my soul tribe and friends, do or die friends. I've used it in order to go from being 6'2" and 135 pounds in high school to all of a sudden deadlifting 400 pounds and running 5-minute miles not too long after. I've used it to attract amazing partners and have a very happy dating life. On and on and on, using these methods. So I hope that gave you a little bit of clarity if you were wondering, what is it that Dan does? And of course, if you're interested in experiencing it yourself, if you think you're ready for that kind of rapid alignment, that rapid expansion, and most people are not, but if you think you are, then I invite you to set up a consultation, apply for it. Let's connect. And let's see what you are really, truly capable of.